Joining us now is Matt Latimer, former speechwriter to President Bush, and his new book causing a lot of stir called Speechless, Tales of a White House Survivor. And in the book, Matt chronicles, his own descent into the hell known as Washington, D.C., and increasingly uncomfortable moments at the White House, some ups, some downs, and you're getting a lot of criticism, Matt, from people like Bill McGurn, who we've had on this show before, and he's been a longtime friend of mine. People who are so angry with you because I guess you kind of kissed and told.
Well, Laura, actually, thanks for having me on the show. I've listened to your show forever, and I'm just so honored to be on. Basically, my book talks a lot of the things that you've been talking about on your show. I mean, I respect President Bush, too. I respect all the people I worked with. I liked Bill McGurn as well. But, there are some people in this town who are Republicans first and conservatives second. And I'm a conservative first and a Republican second. And I saw a lot of things in the White House that disappointed me in terms of a conservative point of view. Immigration, of course, being one of them. I mean, at one point, I'm sure you know, President Bush came out and said that if you disagreed with him in immigration, you didn't want to do what was right for your country. He said you were a coward, basically. And I was disappointed with that because a lot of conservatives and Republicans had a different point of view. And, my book is not just about the Bush administration. I was a fat political nerd from Michigan who, always dreamed of writing speeches.
He came here with a lot of idealism.
I absolutely did, and I wanted to be another Reagan Revolution. I was going to, sit with the president and pen another tear down this wall and all of that. And then I came to Washington, worked on Capitol Hill, the Pentagon, the White House, and I saw that Washington doesn't really like ideals. It's
right.
really hard.
Well, it's at least certainly not conservative ideals.
Right,
it seems now that Washington does like this generic idea of remaking America and repositioning ourselves in the world vis-a-vis other players and so forth. But when it came to conservative principles, let's just go down the line on some of the issues. Bush on Sarah Palin, that's caused quite a bit of stir. Tell us about that.
Yeah, what the president said about Sarah Palin was he came in one day and everybody was euphoric about Sarah Palin, and he said she was an interesting choice. And people were surprised by that. They thought he'd be euphoric about her as well. And what he said was, let's just wait a while and see how this turns out. And she and her family are not at all prepared for what's about to hit them. He was pretty smart.
That was a pretty smart assessment.
It was a very wise assessment. And, I don't think he's fallen to a fainting couch somewhere because I've revealed that he had a wise political sense about that.
Right. Well, that's actually pretty interesting. Right. Now, the criticism of you specifically goes to this idea of breaking confidences. And I know other people. David Frum was the speechwriter for a year, and he wrote a book. And other speechwriters, Peggy Noonan, obviously What I Saw at the Revolution, about the Reagan administration. Other speechwriters have also written books. Peter Robinson, who likes your book, I guess, and former Reagan speechwriter, have also all written books. So the criticism of you from people like McGurn, has Rove spoken out about your book, or just silent treatment?
I haven't talked to him about it, if that's what you mean. I don't know. Hey, I haven't heard him say anything.
Mm-hmm. But it's about the issue of, when President Bush is sitting down with you in the Oval Office, he's presuming that you're going to not reveal the contents of your conversations. Is that a fair assessment? Well,
I don't know if he presumes that or not, because, by the time I was at the White House, there had been about, a dozen or 24 books by former presidential aides from every level of the government who've written about their conversations with presidents. I think those kinds of books are helpful. I think that they help inform people and educate them. And the reason I wrote my book is, I'm a conservative, and I saw what happened to the conservative cause in 2006 and 2008, and I want people to see what happened. I want conservatives to read the book to see what happened, so that we're going forward in 2010, as you're proposing, in 2012, that we don't make the same mistakes again.
Now, the CPAC speech, this fascinated me but didn't surprise me to read this in your book. Conservative Political Action Committee, it's every year, it's a big deal in Washington, and it's a thing for the conservative movement. There's no reason people who maybe in Omaha who are not into politics would know what CPAC is, but we would think that President Bush would kind of be into the whole, at least CPAC happening and addressing CPAC. Tell us what happened.
Well, I had written a speech, and in the speech I had put a few lines in about the conservative movement and the great history of it, from Buckley to Reagan to Goldwater and all that. And we went to the Oval Office, and the president goes, what's all this movement stuff you've got in here? And I said, well, it's a conservative movement, Reagan, Buckley, all that. And he goes, take that stuff out. I know it's arrogant for me to say this, but I redefined the Republican Party.
He's right about that.
Yeah, I whipped Gary Bauer's behind in 2000, he said. Gary Bauer, of course, being a social conservative. That stuff, take that stuff all out. And I was disturbed by that because,
So he didn't consider himself to be part of the conservative movement, did he?
That's what I took it to be, yeah.
I mean, because he's talking about it like it's this other entity, or it's done.
Yeah, and he would talk about, his dad, how bad his dad got treated by the conservative movement. Cause
it's always personal for them. They go so personal on this stuff, don't they?
Oh, yeah.
That's what disappoints me, because he's such a likable person, and he's a good man. He is a good person.
He is funny.
Yeah, he's very funny. I enjoyed my interaction with him very much.
Me too.
But I just don't get, why are you going so personal on this? I mean, people have real, substantive disputes within a party or an ideology, and this is how things get hashed out. You actually have a real, meaningful debate, and sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, but that's kind of the rough and tumble of politics. It's not that it's personal, anything against President Bush. It's like, look, I'm for conservatism. And if he's not going to be conservative on some issues, and I was going to take him to task, other things, like I did a huge speech for him, emceeing a big fundraiser for him leading up to the 2004 election. They flew me into Minneapolis, drove in on the bus. I was happy to do it because of what he was doing to stand up for America. But it doesn't mean you're going to agree with everything, and don't take it personally.
Well, that's what happened at the end of the administration. You couldn't have any disagreements or you were a traitor. I mean, that's what they're saying now. I mean, I don't say I don't like President Bush. I didn't say he was even a bad president. I just said that on a lot of conservative issues that I know you care about and that I care about, the administration drifted the wrong way.
All right, we're going to open this up to phone calls. You ready to stay for a few phone calls? 800-876-4123. Matt Latimer's with us. And I'll probably, if there's another list that I can get on, like a persona non grata list, like there's an upper level of the list, and I'll be on it because I just merely having you on the show, I've committed the ultimate act of disloyalty. As if, by the way, a radio talk show host who's a conservative is somehow tethered to the Republican Party. I'm not. I'm a conservative.
Well, and there are other people.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and there are other people like Ann Coulter and Steve Hayes and others who are going to be on that list too because they played my book.
I'm quivering. I'm quivering. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll get your phone calls, questions that you have for Matt on the president and conservatism, specific policies. We'll be happy to take them. 800-876-4123. Don't go away.
Obviously have made a decision to make sure the economy doesn't collapse. I've abandoned free market principles to save the free market system.
The Laura Ingraham Show.